Well, first of all, let me thank those media that are here to begin what we hope is going to be for not just today, but for some days to come, a celebration of an historic and tremendously important event in American history. We're gathering today. I guess it's Abraham Lincoln's birthday coming up, isn't it? Tomorrow. And so on the 12th, and Illinois would know that, of course.
Absolutely. Land of Lincoln.
Land of Lincoln along the way. And so all of this kind of coming together at a particular point has a great significance for our country. And let me first of all thank Hilary Clinton. Hilary was the original sponsor of this resolution to recognize the NAACP for its contribution. Obviously, she's got a different function today, so I'm happy to picked up the mantle, in a sense, to introduce the resolution in the 111th Congress. Harry Reid, our majority leader, would be standing here with us, but I think all appreciate at this particular moment with a stimulus package and a conferee, he's got his hands full. But the good news is the House has passed the resolution, and it's on its way to the Senate. We'll be bringing it up very quickly, and our hope is either today or tomorrow that we'll be able to adopt this resolution and provide the recognition that is well deserved. The history, Hilary Shelton, who you'll hear from shortly, and my colleague from Illinois, my new colleague, Roland Burris, is going to be talking about the significance of this, obviously, from a broad perspective. But I was fascinated going back in the history of 100 years, and obviously it started by a multiracial group, in a way, the importance of bringing social justice to the minority community in our nation was tremendously important, and probably got its real public recognition beyond the efforts that people had made for some 45 or 50 years was in 1954, obviously, with the Brown versus Board of Education. And the NAACP became a national organization, nationally recognized. We then saw, of course, in 1955, the secretary of the NAACP branch in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks, and began a grassroots movement in the country which led to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. The critical role that the NAACP has played just throughout our history, but particularly in the last half century of the 20th century, and more recently in the events leading up to and including our efforts to deal with the economic crisis that we're facing. It's had a lot of influence on those of us, the organization, over the years. I have Scott Isdale as my state director in Connecticut. I meet with Scott quite often. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we had a major meeting in Connecticut with all my leadership of the community, talking about the economic crisis and particularly the foreclosure issues. I'm proud to have nominated the first African American to be the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, Steve Robinson. Proud to have nominated the first federal judge, Alvin Thompson, and only the second in New England, I might point out, regretfully, to serve on the federal bench. The first African American woman to serve on the federal bench in Connecticut. Recently to have authored the Emmett Till legislation, which took a long time to get done, unfortunately, but allows now for the Justice Department and the FBI to pursue the cold cases that have been lying around for too many years, with people who are losing Roland every single day. In fact, a constituent of yours was so involved, a cousin of Emmett Till's who were with him the night that he was murdered, had a lot of influence on our decision to move forward with those issues. These are all things that the NAACP has contributed to, both collectively as a country, as well as, of course, individually. Those of us who've been blessed to have a strong relationship with the organization. When I think, going back to the Harvard legislation, this gentleman here, that John Lewis called the most important piece of civil rights legislation since '64, to increase the franchise, the voting franchise of millions of our fellow citizens who are being disenfranchised through corrupt and outdated voting practices that denied people the right to participate freely in the process. So I'm very honored to be the author of the Senate resolution and to have a long list of co-sponsors that are behind this effort. To be in a country today where the President of the United States is an African American, and
Yes.
for many of us, wonder whether that day would come in our lifetime. I think we all believed it would come, but whether it would come in our lifetime. And it shows you the journey we've taken as a country. We're not through the journey, obviously. We have a long way to go, but we're far, far down that road from where we were. And while a lot of people and a lot of organizations can rightly claim credit for having been involved in that journey, in my view, there's no other organization that deserves as much credit for pursuing this journey and pushing our country down this road at times when it didn't want to be pushed. But in the absence of their being there to do it, we would never have arrived at this day. And so while this is a celebration of a birthday, it's also the recognition of a remarkable contribution of a remarkable organization that has made a remarkable contribution to our country and continues to do so at this very hour. So I'm honored to be a part of it. Hilary?
Thank you very much. I want to thank our good friend, Senator Dodd, who has been a long-standing champion of the NAACP's agenda since the very beginning. We had wonderful opportunities to work together over the years. He's been to NAACP conventions in the past. He knows us very well. And to have him sponsor a very important piece of legislation recognizing our 100th anniversary was just extraordinary to us. It's extremely flattering. We've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time working on what the NAACP's done all of its 100-year life. It's paved those roads. And to Senator Burris for his great support and his great work with the NAACP, he has a tremendous reputation within the NAACP family back in Illinois. As a matter of fact, when he was nominated and all things kind of went in all kind of different directions. Very well, I received calls from our folks in Illinois saying that regardless of what's happening around this man, he is the right man for the job and should be in Washington. And we're very happy to have him here and very happy to have the support that you've given us and will continue to give us at the NAACP. On behalf of our president and CEO, Mr. Benjamin Jellis, who unfortunately couldn't be with us, along with our chairman of the board, Mr. Julian Bond, who are actually in Los Angeles, California today in preparation for our Image Awards and its 100th anniversary, I bring you their greetings. They're also deeply appreciative and deeply honored that we're having this kind of opportunity to have the NAACP recognized by both the House and, in this case, the Senate. We spent 100 years paving roads, we like to say. Paving roads, giving people the opportunity of all races, genders, ethnicities, and nationalities the opportunity to fully participate in our society. We paved roads that moved us from a time of Jim Crow in our country in which, because of the color of your skin, you were locked out of opportunities, yet you were also locked out of the full protection of the United States of America and local governments as well. We were born at a time when lynching was quite frequent and quite legal in most places in our country, but we've moved beyond that and paved the road to a point of full participation, understanding that both economic access and access to the protection of law was extremely important. And as such, we worked with these bodies in the House and the Senate to pass legislation to open those doors in 1964 to prevent discrimination, and open those doors again for us to be able to fully participate in the franchise of the democracy of the United States of America. So with that, we are delighted with where we've come to today. It's amazing to us as we look back on 100 years and think about those roads we've paved, or those roads we've paved through discrimination, through segregation, into opportunity, and quite frankly, to find that road has led us now to the White House. Well, so indeed, it's an extraordinary time for us in America, both as we celebrate the last 100 years of the NAACP, and as we look forward to the next 100 years, as we'll sit and work with our friends to address issues like racial profiling in our society. It's still a problem, and it's still part of that unfinished agenda. We'll work to address issues like predatory lending that my good friend Senator Dodd works so closely with us on, and has introduced legislation and advanced legislation to address those issues, to save America's homes and America's wealth. Understanding that home ownership for African Americans and so many others in our society really is the key to success. And indeed, when we have the kind of behavior we've experienced, the kind of things that my friend Senator Dodd and my friend Senator Burris are helping us to move forward on to prevent this kind of thing from ever happening again, because we do realize and recognize that as we're moving to pass a stimulus package, that very well the challenges are still with us. We still must find ways to save America's homes and make sure that African Americans and others are again able to fully participate in the economic life of our country. So again, we're disappointed that Senator Reid couldn't be with us. He sends his regards. We're always delighted with the leadership he provides for us, and we're looking forward to this next 100 years and the work we'll do together to advance an agenda and a vision of an America that's inclusive for everyone, and which will be able to take on issues like racial profiling, take on issues like predatory lending, take on issues like crack cocaine disparities, and other concerns that we know are still very well with us. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well done.